Can't wait to see the sheep shearing. That's the true indicator of the beginning of spring. You want to see? Oh my goodness. Oh, oh my God, he's gonna fall over. Here's the lineup. Not only is what gives it the antimicrobial and everything. Just finished watching the annual sheep shearing, which is like genuinely one of my favorite things of the year. Like seriously, something I had scheduled in my notebook preparing for this, and the only person that could come was my sister. But in the end, I like actually really preferred that it was just us, because like I feel like people would come join us, but like they don't get it. Like I know no one gets it like the way that my sister like gets it. Spring is so obviously like renewing and like refreshing, and I'm gonna do a video literally on my spring refresh, and that's literally what they do to the sheep, and they're taking care of the other animals too, and like refreshing them physically. When it's exactly what I say with like winter, if you don't work so hard against the seasons or against like your own personal timeline, things flow so much easier, and you're not just like fighting against yourself all the time.
I love that.
It's true. Here's some wool from the shearing today. One of the better quality wools of the day. It's 7 o'clock and I came home. I'm in a little bit of a funk today, so I didn't stay too long at my mom's house, but normally the second I come home I regret that decision. I wish I was there. I just feel like I needed to be in my own space for a bit. I decided very last minute to go to this vintage fest, and I think it's because I'm like just really needing some new clothes.
I don't like to talk about it because then it's like, no.
Let me show you what I got at the vintage market. It was okay. I think it was pretty fun because normally these vintage markets have like their vintage is rarely ever like true unique vintage. It'll be at most early 2000s, and then I'll see like H&M stuff in their racks. With the exception of my sister, she does a really good job at sourcing real stuff. These 3 pieces, perfect to what I want right now. I'm envisioning it. Look at this. It is just so wonderful. I'm envisioning this with my lace bralette underneath. So sweet for spring. Love it. I have just a total addiction for like little scarves and things. These are like sashes, so who knows what they're actually used for, but I'll just use these as a little... This would actually, oh my God, now I'm realizing would make a beautiful headband. Hold on. Should I stay or should I go? So I intended, actually, I bought this like with the purpose of wearing it as a scarf. Incredible. So obviously you can do a scarf moment. I had a really specific vision when I bought this, and it's to style it with something I haven't worn in like 8 years, okay? This Jill Rodriguez bodysuit. This was pre-breast reduction, way pre-breast reduction. So I haven't worn it. Yesterday was the annual sheep shearing, which is personally one of my favorite days of the year. It's so lovely. The weather's always nice, and it's just like such a good indicator of spring, you know? I'm gonna do a spring haul soon, but this is this stunning blue marine skirt. I don't know that I would wear it with this outfit that I have in mind, but I think it could look pretty cute. I have a super short torso, so these kinds of things like make it a little bit difficult, but I don't know, I think it's super pretty. So my friends, what am I doing today? Well, today's been a jam-packed day actually. I'm going to a talk of this translator, one of the more well-known people who translated the Odyssey, and I am just really looking forward to how the hell do I wear this shirt? When it comes to the Greek classics, one of the things I'm most interested in is just how somebody has the ability to like most accurately translate something like that. So this is definitely going to be out of my depth a little bit, but it's the reason I want to go. Rather than
feeling intimidated and like it's in an accessible space for me, taking it as an opportunity to go into it blindly and curiously and take it from there instead of having to be able to grasp every concept or being able to understand every last thing they're saying. Just go in just like as a student.
Okay, whatever, this works. Just these super comfy little pants that I have.
This is the blush that I've been using. It's Archival by Merit. I got it during the Sephora sale and I just think it's like the most perfect spring blush. This one is stunning though. It's actually very pretty. This is my bag. Inside I've got my little journal, probably where I'll be taking notes. It will be actually, okay, so I was gonna pack my big journal, but actually I'm not going to. I don't need it. And I also threw some ginger chews because I'm probably gonna get anxious going to this event because I always get anxious. My favorite fountain pen. Cute.
Longer the line, at least you could sort of do more, if that makes sense.
I'm literally in my third outfit today. This Chicago t-shirt at Brandy, and I love it so much. I wear it a lot, which is interesting considering like the color and stuff. Not something I would normally go for, but I love it. I feel so cute in it. Okay, while I'm folding my towels, I wanted to talk a little bit about this talk that I went to. It was so wonderful. The translator of this version of the Odyssey, his name was Daniel something. I don't remember his last name by heart, so I'm gonna put it here. It was really amazing. The person interviewing him was this woman who was actually one of his peers when they were in college together, and that made the dynamic so much better for me because it was just so amazing and she was brilliant and I loved the way that she talked and approached her questioning. I almost didn't attend this talk because I felt like a lot of it would go over my head, and I think I mentioned this already, but it's like literally the purpose of learning and having a curiosity is to go into it knowing nothing and coming out with either a satiated curiosity or intent to learn more.
I'm going to share with you some of the notes that I took at the talk, but they might not make sense because I will just like usually just jot something down really quick, whether it has any meaning to me then or now, and I will use it as like a journal prompt or a thought experiment later. The first thing is antiquity to present. The next thing is what happened to the story of what happened, which is something that the translator said is what gets him excited about his craft of translating, which makes sense because in order to translate something properly and thoroughly, you need to thoroughly understand the original, and that's kind of the story of what happened, just like these threads and layers of things. So his approach to this translation of the Odyssey was the poetry being foremost. So classical Greek and Roman classics are written in the same meter. Approach was also how the Odyssey is obviously poetry about the sea, of adventure, of recognition, identity. He would say a lot of the Greek out loud, obviously, which I'm sure many translators do, but try to find some kind of symmetry or at least like a relation to the actual like physical sound of the Greek, and translate that into the English as well, because from a poetry perspective, that's important, you know, the alliteration and the assonance and things like that, which was something that he said he focused on a lot and thinks that it made all the difference. Not only is it difficult like already itself, the translation, but also maintaining that same sound, things like creaks or branches breaking, and so preserving that alliteration in English while maintaining the meaning in the translation is impressive, to say the least. Something that they went on kind of extensively about, which I thought was super interesting, was the fifth word, which was the first adjective in the Odyssey, which is polytropous, and the direct translation is something twisty, windy, wounded around a lot. And so in Emily Wilson's translation, she said a complicated man, but Daniel's translation was something like that. I didn't catch it completely, but it was something like, tell me a story about a man who has many roundabout ways to wander. So he said that he literally came up with the word roundabout when he was at a physical roundabout and said it aloud and was like, wait, like this is it. And so I thought that was so interesting how translation functions in the day-to-day, like for a translator. especially, you know, I am not fluent in Spanish, but I understand it completely. And even then, there are some words in Spanish that just do not translate properly in English. So kind of like tension when you can't find the proper words for it, and you just have to express this like feeling through a whole other lens. I think it's so interesting to be able to kind of just like go through the world with like this project of translating something so massive and important, and thinking and picking and like seeing the world through this lens of like, what kind of experiences can I bring that will make this translation work and make it so much more rich and make it new. The last thing that they were talking about was reunion, change, and identity. The translator actually brought this anecdote up about, it was his mother's 80th birthday and he called her to ask how she felt, and she said that she looked in the mirror and said, I'm not sure what I feel. I feel the same as I felt when I was like 20, 15, 30, and I see the face of someone I don't fully recognize. And it had him kind of ponder the question of what is true identity, you know, like what parts of the layers and layers of life are who you are, and when is that no longer something that's able to be stripped away but is who you are. And that aligns a lot with the Odyssey, and he was able to bring that kind of like sensation into his translation. Think of like a reunion when change inevitably happens, because you cannot exist without changing. And like I said, like what parts of those are you, and at what point does that become your identity, and it becomes this like compounded thing of who you were. Parts of you may feel the same, but it's not the same. It's a different thing. It's an evolved thing, and kind of coming to terms with that is a lot what this story was. Simple terms. Who are you after the adventure, like your epic of life? I'm gonna end it here with something that was my favorite part of the whole talk. This older woman was the first person to ask a question at the end, and she said there's a point when Odysseus arrives at the castle that he needs to enter, and he's disguised, and he sees his dog that he raised since it was a puppy. And from far away, the dog's ears perk up, and Odysseus sees that he recognizes him, and they both recognize each other. But the dog can't approach Odysseus because he's old, he's weak, he was neglected the whole time that he was gone. So he actually can't run up to him, and Odysseus can't approach him because he needs to remain in disguise for him to be able to reunite with his wife. And so Odysseus just turns away and wipes a tear from his eye. And the woman's question was, what does that kind of interaction from far away say about identity? And it left the translator just in awe. He thought it was such a beautiful question. Obviously not something that you can answer in like a minute, but I think was such an incredible thought experiment to leave you with and to end the talk with. It was really something. That was everything, and I think really kind of satiated my curiosity for this topic and how people approach translating something so complex, and it was incredible. I loved it.